Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Liverpool Blood Red podcast here in Doha. I'm Ian Doyle in fact, and I am joined by our former colleague and the much missed James Pearce, who's now from The Athletic. Hello James.
Ian, how are you?
I am a little bit full of cold. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you, yeah, all good.
And also joined, as you can see, it's Carl Markham of PA Media.
I am.
And how long has that been called, PA Media?
This year, the last 12 months we had a rebrand, so yeah.
Yeah, it used to be the Press Association, in case you're wondering. Now, as many of you will know, I was in Doha last month, so you all know my thoughts on this city and Qatar as a country. However, James and Carl, the pair of you, you'd not been here before, and I know we came on the same flight on Monday afternoon. We landed on Monday evening. Presently, we're actually recording this on Tuesday night. James, what's your thoughts? You've had more than 24 hours here now. What do you think?
Yeah, pretty much as I expected, to be honest. I mean, it's a place absolutely awash with money, isn't it? I think you feel that within a few hours of being here in terms of all the high-rise buildings and the luxury hotels that one of which we're in at the moment, and the amount of money they've spent clearly with one eye on the World Cup in 2022. The stadium today we were at. The facilities are absolutely incredible, and then just getting the metro back, which I think has only recently opened, and yeah, it feels like the equivalent of having a World Cup in a couple of years' time in somewhere like Greater Manchester almost. It's that close together, kind of 8 massive stadiums, and so yeah, it's not the kind of place that you'd usually come to following Liverpool around, but certainly I think you also feel within 24 hours of being here how much it means to Flamengo, the fact that I think there's 10,000 fans of theirs that have come over from Brazil. That kind of tells you everything you need to know about how seriously they're taking it.
We'll come to Flamengo in a bit, James. I mean, obviously you in your old job certainly covered Liverpool quite a lot, travelled to some far-flung destinations. I think you went to, was it Thailand and Singapore, Indonesia, wasn't it? Was one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Malaysia as well.
Yeah.
How does this compare? I know we've only been here for, as I say, for just over 24 hours. Not in terms of the reception Liverpool have received, because we haven't seen a lot of that. We'll see a lot of that at the game actually on Wednesday evening. It's just what you think of the actual place itself.
Yeah, I think it's different certainly from the other places I've been to in Liverpool, because it's not the kind of place Liverpool would come to on a pre-season tour, is it? I think you go to Bangkok or Malaysia or Indonesia, and it's like it can be it's like Beatlemania when Liverpool have been there previously. I wouldn't say it's quite on that scale, although there were hundreds of fans outside the hotel when they arrived at Doha. I think the whole Club World Cup has shifted a little bit, hasn't it, since you speak to the players that represented Liverpool in the competition back in the early 80s, and certainly for them it was pretty much an irrelevance, this competition. They talk about how it was treated like a pre-season friendly, and almost like a stag do in terms of they had a few nights out, and it was almost like a break from the rigmarole of the week to week in the old First Division. And certainly this time around it's got a very different feel to it. I think we were at Klopp's press conference today, weren't we? And you hear him talk like that, and I think he summed it up perfectly when he said if you said to me a few months back, is a mid-season competition in Qatar really what Liverpool need, then probably not. But he said because we won the Champions League, we were invited to take part in it, and now we're here, we want to win it. We're not just here to make up the numbers. And certainly I think where Liverpool have been in this competition previously, probably haven't had many fans in the stadium. But I think with the club's global fan base now, I think you can sense there is a real buzz about the fact that Liverpool are actually here, and I think that will be represented with the turnout at the stadium against Monterrey on Wednesday night.
Now, Carl, we were just on the 55th floor of this hotel in a Cuban bar, listening to somebody playing the flute, somebody playing the guitar to Michael Jackson's Earth Song.
Beautiful.
Does that kind of sum up Doha as a city? It seems to be one where it's full of contradictions.
It is a bit incongruous. Some of the things you come across today. James spoken about the lavish amount of money that is spent on things, but half the city is a building site, just because they're either knocking things down to rebuild them, or they've just started building them and not got through them. So you drive past all the steel and glass, and then you get to half-built projects, whatever they are, and round the corniche of what is the Old Town. I'm not sure how old it actually is. They've got like little boats and fishing boats, whatever. And so it is a bit of an incongruous place to be in terms of, say, the difference in what you can see as you turn one corner and go like a half mile down the road, and it's different completely.
I mean, James mentioned then about the Flamengo fans. When we arrived more or less at the same time as a flight came in from Brazil, and there was about 200 to 300 Flamengo fans, all dressed in club gear.
Yeah.
All of them, some of them were even singing, weren't they, going through passport control? We could hear them when we were queuing up. I mean, does that kind of underline, as James kind of pointed to there in the past, with some of the Liverpool players and the teams of the past, I think they played in this in 81, 84, to a lot lesser extent 2005, because Rafa Benitez at the time was absolutely fuming about it, and I think that kind of underlined how the competition is certainly seen as more important in South America than Europe, and certainly seen as more important in certain parts of Europe than it is in England. But now, because Liverpool have got the way Liverpool have played, won the Champions League, they're so far ahead in the Premier League, it's the one competition they've not won. Has this kind of assumed more of a significance and importance than it otherwise would have done? Because James Milner even said, like, I think he was asked the question, is this a distraction to the way your season's going to come, 3,000 miles to Qatar or whatever? And he says, well, it's a chance to win a trophy, so what a distraction that is.
Yeah, that's a long question.
Yes.
I've almost forgotten where it started.
The question is, the competition itself has become a lot more important, even in the 14 years since Liverpool were last in the final.
I mean, for the South Americans, I think from their point of view, it's a chance for them to get massive worldwide exposure. I think we forget that the Champions League is so big and the Premier League is so big that the clubs in England get that exposure. I think for the South Americans, who say it's not that easy to watch their games, and it's a chance for them to broadcast their talents to a world stage. So I can see why they see this as being as huge as it is for them. I think, certainly with Liverpool in this competition now, I think the way they were a huge worldwide name anyway, but with Klopp arriving, with them winning the Champions League again, they seem to have gone on another level again, and it's almost like this is the natural progression for them now. It's almost like they're expected to come here, compete, and they're expected to win it, to be fair, because of what they've become in the last 4 years under Klopp, and where they are in the Premier League now. I think it's expected of them that I mean, both press conferences we've been to today, the Monterrey one and the Liverpool one, people talk about Liverpool the best team in the world, and I know Klopp disagreed with that, to try to play it down and stuff, but people mention Liverpool because they won the Champions League. People saying they are the best team in the world, so they've got to come here and they've got to live up to that expectation.
James, what did you make of Jurgen Klopp and James Milner in the press conference?
Yeah, I thought Klopp struck the right balance, really. He was on good form, wasn't he? I think he humorous, but I think you could tell that he doesn't see this as some kind of glorified commercial exercise in building the brand, or
he made mention, didn't he, if someone said, why haven't you had a public training session like they would do when they go on the tours? It's like, well, it's because we're not here at all, we're here to actually win a tournament.
I think as we said before, would he want to be here ideally in the middle of December amidst such a ridiculously busy period when Liverpool are in an unbelievable position domestically, trying to chase a first title for 30 years? No, but once Liverpool had accepted the invitation, then they weighed everything up before they accepted it, and then you make the best of it. And I think the fact that he didn't leave anyone behind for the Aston Villa Carabao Cup game just told you everything you needed to know. I think when that was initially decided, I thought maybe we might have seen Lallana or Shaqiri, maybe 2 or 3 just stay behind just to strengthen that team and then fly out on the Wednesday or the Thursday ahead of the final. But the fact that nobody stayed behind, and that he brought all of his big hitters over to Qatar, I think that showed he wants to win this title. You speak to any of the players, and they're fully aware that Liverpool have never won this, and
that's a big deal, isn't it? Because I think Jurgen Klopp got asked that, didn't he, the other week? Says, well, this is something that a Liverpool manager has never done. You could be the first one to do that.
Yeah, and I think that is big, and I think there always has been this massive disparity between the way it's regarded in South America and the way it's regarded in Europe. And you speak to any of those players that were involved in the the 81 or 84, and it was ridiculous how different Flamengo and for Independiente, what it meant to them compared to the Liverpool teams who came over to Japan just thinking it's a trip away and a bit of an escape. And so it definitely has changed. I think it still means a lot more to the South Americans than Liverpool. But it's a big opportunity. How often do you get to complete a treble from like June through to Christmas? It's unheard of, really. And to go and win the Champions League, then the Super Cup, then the Club World Cup. In the position that Liverpool are in already, it is significant. And they should do it. There's no getting away from that. I think speaking to a few Brazilian colleagues today, even they said that Flamengo have played 72 games already this season, which is just absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? With the state championship, the national championship, and the various cups. And their league finished like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think, and they were saying that this is huge for them. 10,000 fans have come over from Brazil to support Flamengo and how much it means to them. But he said, that there's also a realization that the gulf is so big now between the top European teams and the top South Americans. He said that, essentially Flamengo's best chance is to park the bus and try and do almost what Sao Paulo did to Liverpool back in 2005, which was to nick a goal and then defend with everything they had and try and hold on. So this is, trophies are pretty hard to come by, and Liverpool went a long time without winning one. So just because I think they've won 2 so far this year, you can't turn your nose up at the chance to get another one in the bag.
Now, at the time of recording, Liverpool's, let's say, under-23 team will be about to play against Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup quarter-final at Villa Park. And there was an article written in another newspaper earlier today which basically kind of insinuated, well, didn't so much insinuate as actually state that Liverpool fans didn't care about the Club World Cup and they were only bothered about the Carabao Cup, and they should have sent the first team to Aston Villa and just sent the reserves to Qatar. And Jurgen Klopp was asked that question, or that statement was put to him, wasn't it? And he didn't take too kindly to what was said, did he?
No, he didn't. He wanted to find out who would say it first. He was quite keen to point the finger at and level his answer at whoever had written it. But no, I think he's right. I mean, I think this competition, the Club World Cup, is worth a lot more to Liverpool generally, not just financially, but in terms of the overall thing, than the League Cup will ever be. They've won the League Cup a lot of times.
It's a record time, isn't it? So if there's any club that's taken it seriously, it's Liverpool, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you can't really fault their sort of approach to it this time, because it's been put in an invidious position by both FIFA and the EFL, I think. So I think and as Klopp pointed out, they knew they were playing in this tournament, and they were invited to this tournament back in August, maybe July. So they started planning for that. They had no idea they were going to be in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals at the same time. So they had to put plans in place for this one, and then it just happens the scheduling has gone the way it has gone, and he has to make a decision. But I think, in terms of what it will mean to the club and what the value is for the players. Look how people talk about the 2001 season where it was a treble. It wasn't the treble that people talk about, but it's still talked about. As being. Name drop. I spoke to Michael Owen last week for his 40th birthday.
Name drop.
Name drop plan, yeah. And I said to him, is there any time you go back, when was you happiest when playing football? And he said, well, I would go back to 2001. That was, that year was just my favourite moment in football was 2001, because he basically won everything he could that year, Ballon d'Or and everything. So I think, as James says, to get a treble and in even shorter time, sort of 6 months, will mean an awful lot to the players and the manager himself, and let's say it's worth a lot to the club.
We've been talking about Flamengo and the view from South America, how important it is, but Liverpool have to play Monterrey first in Mexico.
Yeah.
What are we expecting from them? Do you know anything about them? Don't want to put you on the spot or anything. But which he says immediately put them on the spot. No. But what we do know about them is that they probably the one player that everybody knows about, Vincent Janssen. He's injured, so he's not playing. And they've got the twin brother of Ramiro Funes Mori, used to play for Everton, and big fan of Divock Origi. Yeah. So other than that, other than that, it was interesting. James kind of touched on it just before about the press conference. You mentioned the fact they had the press conference. The Monterrey press conference was just before the Liverpool one, and they were talking about Liverpool are the best team ever. And while the play, I think it was Nicolas Sanchez, wasn't it, the defender? I think he's 33, 34, so he's a veteran defender, and he said that this is the kind of game that comes up once. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And it's interesting that he said that, because obviously for teams in the Premier League, they play Liverpool twice a season. For teams in the Champions League, they can expect to play Liverpool every now and again, so the leading teams. But for the likes of this, Monterrey, the Mexican team, and whoever they would have played in this semi-final game, it's a massive, massive event for them, just as players, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I'm going to say they don't get. I mean, Monterrey this is the fourth time they've been to this competition, but obviously these players haven't. And it is a huge event for them. And I mean, I guess they must sit at home and watch Liverpool on the TV and think, well, can we ever get to that level? Can we ever hope to compete with these guys? And this is their chance. And the coach was sort of trying to.
He was a little bit the opposite.
Manage expectations. He was saying, well, nothing's impossible in football. I think we've heard Jurgen Klopp say that before, that nothing's impossible in football. And that's what he was saying. He's saying, well, we'll try and bring our own style. We're going to have to defend a lot, but there are times when we will be able to attack. And so he's trying to sort of manage the fact that he knows there's a massive gap between the two playing squads. But they're coming here. They're CONCACAF champions, so they want to show the best that they can. I say the players are obviously hugely keen to be here, and both of them said, we're not just here to participate, we want to be competitive. How far they can take that competitiveness, I don't know, because I mean, the Premier League can't handle it for the moment. So whether Monterrey from Mexico can handle them, if Liverpool turn up 70-80% of what they can do in the Premier League, then you think they'll probably struggle with that. But certainly it's one they're trying to lift themselves up for, and there's no bigger opponent.
James, this is a big game for Liverpool. Talk about the semi-final now, because if they don't win, then they'll be playing in a third, fourth place game on Saturday earlier in the evening, which Klopp will absolutely not be interested in whatsoever. The players will just wish they could go home on Thursday morning, and it would be a complete waste of their time being out here. I mean, if they don't win it in the final, it's not a massive waste of them being here, because at least they were competing. But so in that sense, that it's quite a big game, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Because they have to justify themselves, because then if they don't win that, then there'll be questions that'll be asked about, why didn't you put your first team, or more of your first team players you mentioned before in the League Cup game against Aston Villa? Because as I say, we were recording this before that game's played. There's absolutely every chance Liverpool, not without good reason, given the team they're expected to put out, could get absolutely thrashed in there.
Yeah, and especially in the last few weeks, Klopp has consistently rotated. And every time he's done it, it's paid off. That he's managed to find the right combination to get Liverpool over the line. It hasn't always been pretty, it certainly wasn't against Watford last weekend. But he's found, they've found ways to win. And then you're right. I think there is big pressure on that semi-final, because it would be an absolute disaster to, having brought the whole senior squad over here, to then not get to the final would be an embarrassment for Liverpool.
I think there's only one team from either Europe or South America that hasn't got to the final, and it was the South American team one year, where I think the Moroccan team, I think it was Casablanca when Morocco hosted it, about 4 or 5 years ago. I think they beat whoever it was, and otherwise the South American team and the European team always gets to the final.
And I still think Liverpool will be far too strong for Monterrey, and I think also he's definitely done the right thing in my mind, bringing all of his big hitters over here, because and I know people will argue, well, hang on a minute, the League Cup is it's a day out at Wembley. Liverpool have won it that many times in the past. Beforehand, it was regarded as it was the only trophy Liverpool had won for quite a large number of years before what happened in Madrid back in June. But the reality is that competition has been consistently devalued over the years, with all the big teams playing weakened sides, and I don't think we're that far off the League Cup being knocked on the head, to be honest, because I just think it has become a bit of an irrelevance in the calendar. I mean, let's not forget, Kenny Dalglish won that competition and got the sack 2-3 months later. So it hardly screams prestige to me in
Don't
terms
mention that
of,
to Joe Rimmer. He absolutely loves the league.
and you factor in the fact that there's a two-legged semi-final. If they were to get through, what you just need, what you need after a busy Christmas period
I've said
is another
so many
two-legged
times the
semi-final.
League Cup misses a trick. They could have a one game, one-off semi-final at the venue of one of the other semi-finalists. I think that'd be great because that's the one thing that's been lost in the FA Cup.
Yeah, and you heard Klopp today, didn't he? Kind of. He kind of went off on one again about, I think it is a massive bugbear of him, the whole schedule and the way that it is. I mean, he was obviously critical the other day about any plans to expand the Champions League and want to guarantee 10 games rather than 6 games in the group stage and all that kind of thing. And you think the two-legged semi-final in the League Cup, with the way that the schedule is now, is ridiculous. Just the same as all replays in the FA Cup should definitely be scrapped as well.
I disagree with you there completely. I disagree with you there completely.
Go on a tangent.
We can disagree on that one, but that's my opinion on it. And I just think the way that things are now, the reality is that the Premier League for Liverpool is by far and away the biggest priority this season. Nothing should be allowed to get in the way of that. And the second biggest priority is the Champions League. I think the other reality is the Champions League. Winning that is much bigger than winning this competition.
But as Klopp said, they're here. They were invited to go here. They've been compelled to come here.
Yeah.
They've had to change the fixture list to accommodate them. So they're here. So they may as well
try
and give it 100%.
So while you're here, of course, it has their absolute full focus. And as we touched on earlier, Klopp said, that's why we're not inviting the fans in for a training session. Because funnily enough, we're using these training sessions as quite serious exercises in preparing to face the Mexicans on Wednesday night, and then potentially Flamengo on Saturday. So yeah, it's that's the way it is for Klopp, and I think he's taken the right approach. This isn't. I don't think this isn't the most important competition in the world, but it's a fantastic chance to win a trophy that Liverpool have never won before.
Now, winning the Champions League, as James said, in Madrid in June, it hasn't just got Liverpool into this Club World Cup. It's very likely to have got them into another one in 2 years' time, in 18 months' time in China, because for anybody who doesn't know, FIFA have announced they're going to turn it to a 2014 tournament, is it? I think it's 24 tournament. There'll be 8 teams that will qualify from UEFA, and the understanding is that it'll be over that, because it'll be once every 4 years, this Club World Cup. It won't be like every single year. That the 4 winners of the Champions League and the 4 winners of the Europa League will be the 8 teams that get invited, and of course Liverpool in that 4-year cycle have already qualified to winning it. So
what joy!
So
flights now get cheap deals.
Having said that, he's not happy with extra fixtures or whatever have you. That's just something else, isn't it, for Liverpool? But it's also not so much the price of success, but it's the fact that's the reward in some way, isn't it? Or the kind of thing. It's what they have to deal with.
Yeah, it's an extension of the cup competitions you play, and the more successful you are in a cup competition, the further you go, the more games you have. It's the same. It's just a knock-on effect that the success of winning a trophy now means that you suddenly have another competition to play in, which wasn't always the case, but obviously is now becoming. It's going to become a 4-year cycle thing. So, James Milner touched on the same today, saying that success breeds success, and it means it gives you a chance to win another trophy. And he said why, and he basically said why shouldn't we be looking at winning trophies? But his best quote was we don't want to be remembered as the team that won one trophy. I know he's obviously not counting the.
He said major trophy,
yes,
didn't he?
Yeah, but he's obviously counting the Super Cup as a major trophy. Well, they say, well, here you've got to look at winning it, and I think he wants. He speaks to the players, and they want to be as successful as they can, and when he speaks to the players, and are you playing all these games? Is it a trouble? Is it tiring for you? They'll go, no, we want to play as much as we possibly can. We want to get everything out of what we can of our career, and if that means playing more games to win trophies, we'll play more games and win more trophies. They're driven by that. It's gone are the days where you played football because it was your job and you were good at it and you got paid well. And these guys are paid so well, it doesn't really matter. They want silverware, they want medals around their neck, and this is just. It doesn't really matter what that. It does matter what the medal is. But for this week, as they both said, this is the most important trophy. This is the most important competition because they're in it this week and they can win it. And they just want to win a trophy and trophy. They keep going, and if they can, add this one to Super Cup and the Champions League, and then a good position in the league. You're looking at 4 trophies in a 12-month cycle, not discounting how long they get in the Champions League. So also that becomes like a memorable year for them, and then it just builds the momentum of it's another trophy, it's another trophy, another trophy.
Just before we go on to the team selection at the end, just while I've got you, 2 obviously big contracts that have been announced in the last week. Both of them, they were sat up there in the Khalifa Stadium. I'll just say, are you surprised, and is it good or bad? I think I'll know the answer to the second question. First of all, James Milner's 2-year extension. Were you surprised that it's 2 years?
No. I think that shows that I think it's testament. The fact he got 2 years is testament to just how important he's underlined he is to the ongoing success of Liverpool so far this season. I think.
Is it a good thing as well?
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. I think it's really difficult to gauge just how important, or appreciate just how important he is, both on and off the field, with the way that he just sets all the standards that other players follow. I remember doing an interview with Trent Alexander-Arnold 4 or 5 months ago now, and he was saying that when he first broke into the first team, he was quite scared of James Milner. He said he was quite an imposing figure in the dressing room, and said because he said every day of the week, he said his standards just never drop. He said he's absolutely bang on it in training, so relentlessly that if anyone is anywhere below what then he knows they're capable of, he's on your case. And you just think, as a manager, what an absolute dream that is to have around. The fact that you've got someone like that marshalling the dressing room like he does, and then you've got that side of it. And then you've also got the fact, he's shown this season. It's not just he hasn't got that as some kind of because he's a great lad to have around the place. He still merits a place in that midfield. He's still, with the lack of cover at left back and right back, he's got a part to play probably in the next few weeks in those positions as well. I think he's only probably 2 or 3 weeks away from turning 34, but he's kept himself in such incredible shape, and he's been such a model professional that I'm really glad Liverpool have given him the 2 years. I think that was probably what he was kind of pushing for. I think it wouldn't surprise me if initially there was talk about being a 12-month extension, and he probably said, hang on a minute, I think I'm probably worth more than that. And
I think he would have set up for 12 months. I think because he'd have had. He has spoken in the past about Leeds, and had Leeds come up at the end of the season,
which they will actually.
I think he's in such good nick that there's no reason why he couldn't do 2 more years with Liverpool and then go and play for Leeds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the way fitness is. And as I just say, I think.
Were you surprised? But I know you're going to say it was good. Were you surprised that it was the 2 years?
Not really, no. I think the surprise was it's taken so long to agree.
Maybe it's because of the 2-year thing.
Maybe because we were only 3 weeks away from him being able to discuss. Going overseas. We all know he speaks Spanish because he speaks Spanish to his kids, doesn't he? I'm not saying that he was looking at that, but to get so close to potentially losing him would have been, people that maybe, bear in mind how well the recruitment process has been over the last couple of years. I think people have asked questions if we got to, an Emre Can situation where we get into the last 6 months and he's talking to, foreign clubs at first and stuff. So I think that was the only surprise that it took so long. But I say we're not a party to the negotiations. We don't know whether it was just the fact that they were haggling over, is it 1, is it 2, and he was obviously pushing for 2. And obviously the longer he pushes it, more bargaining power he has if they want to keep him.
Can any of us remember being 34? Final thing for the team. Jurgen Klopp, obviously it's a great thing, but I personally was surprised he agreed such a long extension. I thought he'd do the 7 years then stop like he'd done at Mainz and Dortmund. Carl, I'll ask you first. Are you surprised that he's decided to... It seems as though he's seen Liverpool, things have been going so well, that he's almost looking at the next stages, and he can see what the next stage is. Obviously there's a possible incoming in January. Mm-hmm. There will be other changes coming. We mentioned Milner, okay, stay for a couple of years. There will be players who will go, and they'll look to do the next generation. Has he just decided he wants to be part of that? And also there's the Anfield Road end as well, which is, the plans for that have been announced. You kind of get the impression he would quite like to stick around and see what that ends up looking like.
Yeah, the thing we should remember is that just because the contract is to a certain date, he stays
true. But he's made the commitment,
whereas
he's never done that before.
No, and I was telling what he said at the press conference on Friday was that key to it was transfers policy. Players coming in and wanting to know who their manager's going to be, and he was down to, obviously he was ticking down to his last couple of years, and if he's thinking, well, the next couple of years, the same question will be asked over and over again. Like we had the situation when Wenger was at Arsenal, every year it was like, are you going to sign your contract? Are you going to sign your contract? And it was extended by 1 year and 1 year. So I think he's maybe thinking for the longer term health of the club than his particular longer term in a way. Because at any point he could win the league and Champions League and decide I've really had enough. I do need a break, because he didn't get a proper break after Dortmund, really, did he?
Was it 2-3 months? Yeah.
And he was supposed to be taking a year off or whatever. So, and the way he works, he is going to need a break sometime. But I think he's looked at everything he's got, the squad he's assembled, which over the last 2 or 3 years, what they've done with that squad and making it what it is. He's not going to get a better bunch of players anywhere else if he wants to go anywhere else. Not that he does. And I think he's thinking, well, these players are either at their peak or are coming into their peak in the next couple of years. Why wouldn't I want to be the man behind that, pushing them forward? And then he's always got the option he can walk away before the end of his contract if he sees that. But I think he's thinking, this is the peak time for Liverpool and for these players, and I want to be. Probably want anybody else taking credit for it. And the last thing you do is walk away, and then somebody else comes in and wins loads of stuff. So I think he's thinking medium term he's thinking about himself, longer term he's thinking about the club in terms of the transfer strategy and what they can achieve. You have to capitalise on every. We said about the players wanting to win every trophy. You have to capitalise on every chance you get, and I think he boiled it down to the next 2 or 3 years, and that is going to be the time when they're really going to push for all on us, because we're looking at how the Premier League's panning out at the moment. City look like they're going to have to do a little bit of rebuilding. United are still in the rebuilding process. Chelsea are, who knows where they
started theirs, haven't they?
Who knows where Frank Lampard's going to go with that. Tottenham, well, who knows where they go, because a couple of years and the manager
he'll be gone anyway.
Off, so it's almost like everything has fitted into place, slotted into place, and it feels like it's Liverpool's time. And I wonder if Klopp has just sensed that and thought, we haven't peaked at the Champions League final in June. We're still on the upward curve. So I think maybe that's what he's looking at.
Right then, let's do the team then. Alisson, do we think can go? Because it could be Adrian, couldn't it, for the semi-final? I think Alisson.
Surely
I think
Alisson.
Alisson.
I think so.
Now, I have to say, Virgil van Dijk, he sat out training on Monday, but he's okay. Is he starting?
I think
he's
so.
got to, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Who else
So exactly. Yeah. So Joe Gomez has to be the other centre back.
Yeah.
Full-backs, do we give one a Trent or Robertson a rest? Robertson obviously didn't start against Watford at the weekend.
No, I think you start. I'd start.
You go with the pair of them,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so now we're into the midfield.
Midfield is always the area where there's some room.
Wijnaldum's not playing. Firmino is obviously not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got Henderson.
So Henderson has to play, and he'll play presumably in the defensive midfield. But if they play the one rather than the two, because they played the two, didn't they, against Watford?
Yeah.
Does Milner play? If they play the two, could play alongside him.
I don't know. Do you play Milner and Henderson as a two?
But Milner tends to be more progressive, doesn't he? He'd be further up. So,
You could play Milner and Keita in there, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You could do. Not Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita and Henderson.
Well, you could have put Oxlade-Chamberlain potentially as one of the front three.
Well, I'm asking
if you don't want.
I think Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita might be a good chat, because the way the Monterrey coach was talking, he's expecting to do a lot of defending. So they're not going to be. You wouldn't expect to be overrunning midfield. I mean, and so you're looking at Henderson to cover all the ground that needs to be covered in between, defence and the more advanced midfielders. So it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Keita didn't play the weekend, did he? So
yeah, it makes sense.
Keita's going to play,
bench.
isn't he? So we're saying it's Henderson and Keita and then one other.
Yeah.
Are we saying it's going to be?
I think the press conference is a bluff.
I think it'll be Milner. What do you think?
Who knows?
I think that's how this works. Remember when we used to do the podcast with us, where we do this at the end?
I think recent weeks has shown that it's very difficult to second guess what Jurgen Klopp's going to do. But I would quite like to see. I mean, it would be attacking, but I would quite like to see a Henderson, Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain trio in midfield. Because as Carl said, I'm not expecting Monterrey to really take the game to Liverpool, and I just think Liverpool will dominate possession to that degree that I don't see that being an issue, to be honest.
Well, that he's not going to play that midfield against Flamengo, is he?
No
If
chance.
you're spinning around,
and he'll definitely
definitely
rotate between the two games.
Yeah, so
to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Lallana played against Monterrey.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
we
surprised.
always forget about Lallana.
No, we didn't. We just mentioned him.
I know, but it comes. Yeah, but until that point, we haven't mentioned it.
Yeah, but I think Origi will play tomorrow.
Well, I was going to say, I think
so,
Origi
yeah.
will definitely play instead of Firmino.
Yeah.
Origi,
He hasn't had much of a look in, has he, Origi? I think he was brilliant in the Merseyside derby, and then must have thought, that's a real statement for me, that, and then he hasn't really had a look in since.
He's only played about 3 games since then, to be fair.
I know, but still 3 games since he was brilliant in the derby, and he hasn't had a look in. So surely this is a chance for Origi.
So, yeah.
So are we saying Origi instead of Firmino? Are we saying both Mane and Salah, or do we think perhaps Oxlade-Chamberlain or Shaqiri could play?
Shaqiri,
I think Shaqiri, maybe.
Shaqiri
for whom? Mane?
No, I'd say Salah if you're going to drop one of those two. Not drop,
Rest.
Yeah, sorry, we don't need to drop it anymore.
It's tricky with Salah because
he's in form as well, isn't he?
and also being here, there'll be so much focus on him.
Probably
in the
more
Arabic world.
if Liverpool gets to the final. Then I know what you mean.
I wonder whether they'll play him in 2 games. I don't know. Just to being cynical, but maximise their market value of one of the marketable assets.
You're very cynical. You should become a journalist. Right, we'll finish then with the predictions. What do you think, James? Given the fact I know you know nothing about Monterrey, you've never seen them play.
How dare you? I've done all my homework.
They beat Al Sadd, who Xavi is the coach, the Qatari team 3-2. Although it was 3-1 until the last minute, so they were easily winners in that one. That doesn't really count if he doesn't.
No, not really. I'm going to go 3-0 Liverpool.
I'll go 3-1 Liverpool.
Well, I was going to go 3-0 as well.
You are allowed to.
I'm allowed to go
with the
same team.
Yeah, I know he's terrible at predicting anything.
Yeah, I think 3-0.
3-0. And that should do us. Join us later this week where we will talk after Liverpool's obviously 3-1 win against Monterrey. Cheerio.